Today, I wanted to do a really interesting list because I had from a Patreon a suggestion to make the most compelling, overpowered characters. And why do I find this interesting? Because a lot of people use the word overpowered. In this sense, in this video, I'm talking about characters that have pretty much the ability to either wipe out a world or some type of power that just seems like over the top, more than just simple super strength or super speed. I'm talking about powers that can pretty much murder almost anybody on this list or each other. And these are kind of world destroyers or people destroyers. So these are characters who are very strong. Now, of course, there is so many superheroes that can fall in line, and I'm not even counting super villains or anime or manga characters. So these are simply comic superheroes that are overpowered, or most people consider OP, and they're still very compelling to me. So, without any further ado, let's get into the list. I'm going to start my list with Silver Surfer. I think he's a fan favorite for a lot of people out there, and Silver Surfer is pretty much, in my mind, kind of like a mini god. Galactus uses him to kind of scope out planets before the big boy eats the planet himself. So Silver Surfer can go head to head with some of the toughest superheroes or villains out there. But during one of my favorite storylines, Silver Surfer is dying. It's a 4-part epic called Silver Surfer Requiem. In this storyline, we have to deal with something that's coming, which is a very real death for a character who almost feels invincible. First telling his close friends like Sue and Reed, and then spending his day just helping Spider-Man. You get a ton of touching moments that make this godlike superhero truly a down-to-earth guy, and his backstory is heartbreaking. And my number 9 is going to be Sentry. Well, if we want to talk about a fractured young man, here's the character. What started out as kind of one of the most powerful superheroes ever, basically making him, to a lot of people, Superman in the Marvel Universe, but there's a creature inside him called the Void, and things get pretty hairy pretty quickly. Basically, he deals with a lot of mental issues, and he breaks down a lot of the times in the heat of battle, which makes him kind of useless. But at the same time, he can be vicious and just pretty much take out anybody who fucks with him, and he doesn't have the moral compass of Superman. But what I always found really interesting is that he has this eagerness to do good in his heart, despite him having all these mental issues and despite him having this creature inside him. Someone who is mentally unstable but knows that he wants to help others, just for some reason, is very interesting to me. Now, I will be honest, he hasn't had a proper good story in a long time, and I do enjoy a lot of his stuff, but, you know, we just hope one day we'll get another story that's equally as interesting as the character himself. And number 8 is Thor. Now we're talking about literal gods here, and Thor is easily one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, especially the 616 version. If you think he's cool and strong in the movies, he has been severely nerfed in those movies, and his power feat in the comics is hands down some of the most craziest shit you'll ever see in comics. It also helps, though, that Thor feels like a very flawed god who does love certain people in his life, and he also will protect humanity no matter what. Something about his Viking-like ways mixed with his power sets, yet he has a heart of gold, makes him kind of the most fun and exciting hero to follow, despite him being a god. So he has that little mix of human feeling, but his strength is way beyond most. Number 7 is Captain Marvel. I mean, going toe-to-toe with the likes of Thor and Hulk and many others, on top of being able to absorb pretty much almost any energy, Captain Marvel is a force to be reckoned with. Similar to someone like Superman or Thor, a lot of times they have to be put against world destroyers or in situations that test something like their intelligence. My favorite thing about Captain Marvel, similar to Tony Stark, is that they have the confidence in their abilities. Whereas Tony doubts himself and proves himself time and time again as a hero, Captain Marvel worries that she can't be enough for people. Even though many look up to her, she never feels like she'll be what they want, making her compelling in her own way, because I think a lot of people feel that way, especially the people that we love, that will never be enough for them. So that's what makes her interesting for me, on top of her pretty much being one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe. And number 6, we cannot forget the Hulk. The Hulk is an interesting case because, well, he seems simple. He gets angry, he smashes things, the end. Bruce Banner, on the other hand, is one of the smartest people in that universe, yet he's stuck with the Hulk, thinking the big green monster sets him back. However, they can achieve amazing things together, just like when he became Professor Hulk in the comics in Peter David's run. Or when you're facing your past, like most of what Immortal Hulk sets up, Hulk has a lot deeper rooted storylines that I think a lot of people can face themselves in their own life. Talking about their past, getting over trauma, it's easy to see why a lot of people love the big green Hulk. Also, he smashes the shit out of things, so that's pretty fucking cool if you ask me. And number 5 is Atom Eve, and while not the strongest on the list, she can't go head to head probably with the Hulk in combat. The fact that her power set alone lets her manipulate atoms is absolutely insane. Especially if you read the comics or if you watch the show, you'll learn what she's capable of when her barriers that were set on her when she was a child are broken or disabled. What she can do is quite astonishing, and nearly immortal after what happens to her in the certain events when Conquest versus Mark, or aka Invincible. On top of that, she is an extremely supportive partner for Mark, and a person who's passionate about her dreams and goes out and does them. It's so nice to see. She's also a grade A mom, so all around, besides her having these awesome power sets, she's a fantastic character who is super compelling. And my number 4 is Superman. And you knew he would show up eventually. He's the great hope of the DC universe. He's a god sent to Earth, and instead of ruling it, he wants to be a part of it. The spirit of Superman and the way he fights for the good of people, on top of having a really fun power set such as super speed, strength, flying, and heat vision, makes him not only fun to root for, but you have this sense of protection around while he's there. Also, I got to mention though, he could be scary as hell if you piss him off or mess with his friends. That part I love about Superman as well. So Superman remains one of my favorite for his spirit of wanting to help others, but also his fun power set makes his fights a lot of fun. So Superman has to be on my list here. Number 3 is Wonder Woman, and let me tell you, she is one of the most powerful characters in the DC universe. Able to take on Hercules and win, Diana is not to be fucked with from many showdowns, including going head to head with Superman and beating him. Diana has proved himself to be an elite warrior, and hand to hand, she is probably one of the strongest characters. If everybody was equal in power, I'd still give Wonder Woman a lot of favor in terms of winning battles, simply because she is a warrior on top of all else. But beyond that, forget her fighting, which is awesome, and her power set, and her way of, you know, just kicking ass, is her compassion towards people. It's her love of people that makes her one of the most liked superheroes. It also helps that she has an amazing design. She's both fierce and she will kick your ass, but she also has a great ass. And to me, friends, well, I gotta say, that's a win-win. And if you don't agree, well, shit, get your eyes checked. Let's go. Alright, number 2 is Swamp Thing, and probably one of the most overpowered characters on this entire list. The way he can literally be in any place at any time with a single plant growing is absolutely insane and somewhat fucking horrifying. On top of that, he is near immortal. Oh, and did I mention that he can grow to the size of a kaiju and stomp your ass out? Oh, and if you want, he can just wrap a bunch of vines up inside you and murder you that way. Or he can throw a seed in your mouth and grow inside you and explode you from the inside. So yeah, let's say that Swamp Thing is not to be fucked with, is what I'm saying here. But it is also his struggle to find himself, to even know if he is Alec, if he's even human anymore, that sends him on a journey of self-discovery that made him so famous. From Alan Moore's excellent run, to Scott Snyder's pretty good follow-up, to Ram V and Soul's really fun take, or even Jeff Lemire in his recent mini of Green Hell, all absolutely fun, fantastic, or amazing. Swamp Thing has plenty of excellent character moments on top of having this amazing power set. You really got to get into him if you haven't. He is one of the best characters for a reason, and he will be getting a movie. Finally. And my number 1 is Mark, aka Invincible. Very few superheroes do we see grow in time like we do Mark. See, we meet Mark as a teenager, and we only grow from there into an adulthood. If you're watching this show, you're still on the early stages of his life, so I don't want to get into too much spoilers, but Mark develops, has real emotional moments and character growth, and changes into someone that almost most people can relate to at some point in their life, and he has to deal with situations that most superheroes don't because, well, they live pretty much an infinite life at Marvel or DC. But Mark doesn't have that. See, he grows old and older, and while it'll take hundreds of years to get old and then die, he still, unlike most superheroes on this list, has to deal with everyone around him eventually passing. And this is a growth for a character. On top of that, he's a great partner to Adam Eve. It is such a cute relationship. He's an adorable dad. That's a grade A+. I love being an adorable dad. I'm an adorable dad, so I relate to you, Mark. And of course, his power set grows and grows. And while the TV viewers might think that he gets his ass kicked a lot, they haven't seen what he can do by the end of this beautiful comic. By the end, Mark is up there with one of the strongest characters in comic universe. And when I say that, I'm saying he surpasses the likes of his dad and much more, and we've seen what Nolan can do. So yes, Mark, aka Invincible, is one of the strongest and most compelling, if not the most compelling character in comics for me. Now, of course, this is a lot of subjective take because some people find other characters compelling that I do not, and vice versa. I really just wanted to pick characters that I thought were compelling, but also their power, and kind of like balance the scale. Some of these characters are stronger than others, and they're lower on the list simply because I find a different character more compelling. So I wanted to kind of mix the two up. So this isn't a definitive list of who I think is the most strongest or overpowered, but it is the list that I find the most compelling that have powers that are considered overpowered to many, or OP, whatever you want to say. So I hope you enjoyed this list. If you did, I would love to see your list. You don't have to have 10 if you have 5 or 3 or 2, or, well, if you have 1, that's a little weird. But what are some characters that are overpowered or just simply super strong and that you still love them despite feeling like they might not die by a normal fight? List that below. I would love to see your answers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you want more of this. Share this if you can, because that always means a lot. Any way to get these videos out so more people can join in on our nerdy funness, that would be wonderful. And have a wonderful day.